Welcome back to Pulse. Today I'm joined by Eli Baillie and Joe Rampley from Forest Bikes, a brand that's becoming one of the most talked about names in London mobility. Today we're unpacking what it takes to build a challenger brand in 2026, how you compete with bigger players, move at speed, and stay true to a point of view that people actually care about. Welcome, guys. Thank you for coming up.
Welcome. Thank you for inviting us. Yeah.
Let's start simple. Tell us just a little bit of an overview, like how the year's gone, maybe a little bit about your roles and the brand a little bit as well.
Cool. Yeah, I'll go. I'm Joe. I'm basically I lead creative and brand at Forest. I've worked here for 4.5 years, nearly 5. So I've seen the whole thing kind of move from no bikes to 20,000 bikes. So I've seen that whole journey happen. And yeah, I lead a team, like an in-house team. We're also an in-house agency, so we kind of do a lot of in-house work for the wider team, but also we lead up our marketing campaigns, which is the big bulk of our work. So yeah, that's me.
I'm Ellie, and I joined Forest a year and a half ago. I joined Joe's team about 7 months ago, something like that, and work with Joe on essentially creating these brand campaigns and bringing them to life.
And for people that might not know, how would you describe the brand and Forest Bikes in 2026?
I guess maybe I'll start from the start, because I think some people even don't quite understand the concept of a shared e-bike, because that's something that is worth noting. We basically run a shared e-bike service in London. We're the second biggest in the market. You download an app to unlock the bikes, and there are free floating e-bikes across the city. We're in 19 boroughs in London, which now is the biggest. I think we've got the biggest area of all the bikes in London, so we're really proud of that. And basically, yeah, you hop on them. You can either pay as you go, or you can buy a bundle or a subscription to kind of ride them. About the Forest brand, maybe. Quite an interesting story about Forest is we started as Human Forest. That was our origin brand. And then in 2023, we actually rebranded to Forest. And it was a good decision, I think, because obviously it's made our brand a lot more tangible and easier to maybe get to grips with. So that's kind of the Forest history a little bit. Yeah, I'd say.
Nice.
And you guys had quite a big moment recently that happened. You went viral. You were blowing up. Tell us a little bit about that moment, because that was probably quite a big moment for you guys this year. And yeah, tell us a little bit about what happened, and then we can dive into maybe the actual kind of campaign itself and how it all kind of unraveled.
The origins of that were essentially we changed our original pricing model where we gave everyone 10 minutes free. So that was our sort of big selling point that's opposed to our other competitors. But we changed it to more of a dynamic model where we would give people up to 30 minutes free based on how long the bike's been idle or that sort of thing. So we essentially wanted to create a campaign that articulated £1 rides in a way that was simple and easy to understand. And we were like, £1 rides, like what could we do with £1 rides? And I think it came out as sort of a joke where we were like, it sounds like £1 fish. And then we thought about it for a bit, but we weren't sure, like, do people still remember £1 fish? Like, was our audience maybe a bit too young? Like, how do we tie that into how do we get £1 fish man like, to begin with? Like, where is he? We haven't seen him for ages. So it started out as a joke, and then I think the more research that we did, it quickly became something that we thought really had legs.
100%, yeah. It was like the first idea, I'd say. The first idea for the whole thing was £1 fish, as a joke, as mentioned. And sometimes the first idea, the simplest idea, ends up being the idea that flies, which is mad to think. You can come up with so many ideas. But that first one, and it was you just going, £1 fish, which is just
It's just it's like a credit to, what was the guy's name? Shahid's original track.
Can't as soon as we got them voice notes, I mean, we'd love to tell you the whole story, but we've been all day. But as soon as we got that first voice note back, we were like, please, sing this back to us. Let's see how it works. Yeah. They were like, he's a talented man. He's a talented man. He's got a great voice.
Did you give him the whole script? Did he freestyle it? Or?
Gave him the whole script, yeah. So we painstakingly wrote that script. So this whole thing has been a mad experience, you know. But I think it goes to show, going back to that first idea thing, the idea was £1 rides, which hopefully is an easy thing to grasp, right? You can ride a bike for £1. How then do you proposition that to the audience? And you also need a simple idea in that manner as well. So that was the idea. So it felt like a perfect mesh. I would say also about how old it was. It was 14 years ago. So this is a long time that £1 Fishman went viral. He was on X Factor, I think, as well from it. So like we were really resurging something that we were like, is anyone going to remember this? Is anyone going to get this? Do we need to put a fish in it? Like we kept thinking of all these logistics to make people understand. But it turns out that we luckily trusted our gut and, you know, really lent into it. So
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I think it was also just content that we wanted to watch. And you know, you can't really sort of manufacture these things, but we created a condition where we could, and we went back on so many different iterations. Like at one point we scrapped the entire thing and just started from scratch again, because we were like, it's just not hitting. We didn't find it funny.
Yeah.
And so if we didn't find it funny, how are we going to get our audiences to find it funny as well?
Yeah.
To have that kind of awareness of, because you can go down a road of thinking maybe too much about how we communicate the product or how we communicate the offer, rather than that, which is like, how is the audience going to receive this, and is it actually going to be entertaining?
So sort of that distinctiveness as well, like that's your perspective as a brand, and that's probably what's going to help you stand out against a lot of the other brands in the market, right? Maybe a bit bigger or maybe more budget. But how have you kind of found that as well? Have you kind of seen, you know, that competition with other sort of competitors, and like how that's that approach for you guys? Like explain that sort of process and how you kind of manage it.
Totally. I think with the brand, obviously, as mentioned, we're 4.5 years in. We've had times where we've dipped into that kind of competitor mentality in regard to our competitor, obviously, like bringing that up. I think now our strategy is we describe it as like salt and pepper. So like that kind of obviously competitor mentality in regard to our rival is the salt and pepper on the product, on the output, but the output is this great video, if you know what I mean. And that salt and pepper, it doesn't need to be the main part of the content, if you know what I mean. It is the extra edge. So for example, a lot of the comments, you know, in the content was about £1 fish. There was a few, oh my god, you savage lion, right? So there was a reference to that, but it wasn't the main entity. The main entity was this famous, you know, iconic London character, which is £1 fish man. Yeah. That was kind of the way we balanced it, you know. So and we're proud of that. I think that balance.
Because it suited. They did. I think they brought back the Wheelstone Raider, and I've seen a few of these where it's kind of like almost the resurgence of that kind of almost meme culture that, you know, maybe 15 years ago was like popping off. And I think it's such a clever use of something that was iconic, and it's almost like there was enough time and enough space within that for it to, when you brought it back, it kind of just hit like the nail.
That was actually one of our references, the Itsu ad, when we were thinking about meme culture and how do we tap into that, particularly with £1 fish, and obviously what ClassPass are doing with their digital ads as well, and that like wide array of different memes. They've got 19 different passes for that, which is like insane. And like looking at how other brands have used meme culture, but I think what really worked for ours was that it didn't feel like an ad, or so the audience would say, that it didn't feel like an ad, and they already realised it was an ad like sort of further down. But we were meant to create that shock value right when you open the video, because attention span on social media is minuscule. I've got like a second to grab people's attention, and to be able to do that with £1 fish man, just like, whoa, oh my god.
One of the things that you guys did so well with that video was you were able to kind of balance the entertainment of it with the actual message, and I think that can sometimes come across as maybe you go a bit too cheesy if you're overthinking the product. Tell us a little bit about that kind of lesson you learned about how you found that balance between the kind of message within the product, but also something that's going to, land with the audience as well.
Totally. I think one thing we were chatting about before, like right at the start of the whole process of ideation, was I kept saying it to the team. If we managed to get the public to think forest and £1 in the same sentence, then we're kind of doing our job for affordability, value for money in terms of brand, right? So that was like behind the scenes, like the skeleton of it. But I think as we're built around that skeleton, we baked it in humour. So like, you're right in terms of the content that we were copying was like that man, £1 fish, very, very good £1 fish, very, very cheap £1 fish. He literally made a perfect jingle.
You used to fire up the message over and over again. It's like a constant reinstating the offer message. It's just a good song.
Just I mean, like, yeah, I think that helps. Like, we just followed that rhetoric, but also I think, and that's where we come back to the fact it was the first idea. If the idea was to connect them to entities, Forest and £1, and if you do it via a jingle, like, this is what's mad about this thing, because we went and did this and, used what was around us, Itsu, Surreal, using these brands as references to do this. And then now on LinkedIn, people are like, the genius of sonic branding, and we're like, whoa, we've just
Stop that,
it maybe wasn't like it. But then obviously that's the beauty of analysis.
Take LinkedIn to overcomplicate.
Love the LinkedIn analysis.
I mean, I absolutely will take that, because that's obviously, it is part of it, because sonic branding is obviously a huge thing, and I've kind of learnt more and more about it since obviously finding out that we'd actually create the jingle, or kind of hopped on the jingle. So I think that's an interesting analysis to kind of pick from it. Yeah.
I think for us as a team, as well, just more generally, that sort of LinkedIn conversation and famous campaigns and Campaign UK picking it up was like a really nice sort of validation for us that we're on the right lines in sort of being a challenger brand and putting things out there that is creating impact. I think up until quite recently we were maybe the uncool ones, and someone compared us to Apple and Android with Lime and Forest, and I don't think it may be the right comparison, but there's definitely a conversation there around rivalries between two competitor brands, and it was really nice to feel validated in what we're doing as a creative team, to be like, we're definitely on the track to creating something really mega.
And then almost as like a continuation piece, right? That idea of solid branding and that repetition of message and sound to build those memory structures in the audience's mind. We did a bit of a deep dive into Yorkshire Tea yesterday. We saw an amazing talk where they talked about their brand platform, Proper Brew, and how that's been going for the last 10 years, but they've just evolved it over time to then go into different areas of culture and all this type of stuff. What's the idea of like the continuation of almost this brand world that you're starting to like build out? That idea of conflict between like an Apple and an Android user, Lime versus Forest. Where does the next sort of like evolution of the brand go, and where it is right now?
I think we kind of touched upon learning from what we've done. I think part of it is that as well. So simple is way better. Like, we've tried to do quite complex things in the past, and I think this now like really paves the way for simplicity, and more than ever. We're pulling inspo a lot from Monzo as well with it, and how they're just really owning being like a really simple way to just, obviously it's a bank, but then their campaigns follow that arc as well. Like, we were a big inspo for this was the 1p saving challenge that Monzo do, and we've sponsored Coventry City, and now they did a pop-up where you could get the shirt for 1p, the Coventry kit. So like, that was a real good basis on a campaign that's baked in simplicity. 1p saving challenge, 1p kit, there it is. For us, £1 ride, £1 fish, there it is. So I think for future, I think we try and keep making sure that the idea follows that essence of, so one track minded essence, because we don't have time to tell people 7 things.
And does that almost ladder into you kind of product strategy as well as marketing strategy? Like, can you, so those you kind of making the offer simplistic, which obviously the £1 ride was, to then make an easier brief for the communication to be simplistic? Are you kind of thinking about it in that lens as well?
Big time. I think we've made a little app change during this process where we basically made it easier to find a £1 ride. So that kind of was intrinsic to the campaign, which for once, like, it felt like, right, we've moved the campaign, the marketing dial into one, but also we've got an app change that's like going into the kind of pocket of campaign, and that only reinforced it. So I think totally, it's like, hopefully, we're not product designers, but we can at least affect the kind of simplicity of messaging to some degree.
I think it's so important that those teams are communicating, right? You're talking to the product and the design and tech teams, and that relationship is intervened. And I'm moving on to the next kind of section, which is like challenger mindset, which I think weaves quite well into that. I'm guessing that's maybe a positive that you guys have in maybe a smaller team than, you know, your bigger competitive players, where you can probably influence that a little bit more, and that you can talk more closely together in that kind of situation.
We can. I think we all have upside, don't we?
We do, and I think it's the sort of benefit of us working as a in-house agency is that you have so much more mobility to work with other departments. For example, our tech and product design team, like, really having those in-depth communications about how we're going to market something versus how it's going to affect app changes or app usage. But also just the agility of it, being able to make things happen really quick. And in our industry, things are moving very fast. So that has, like, given us a huge amount of benefit to maybe hop on the trend before it passes, or even get ahead of a curve, and you know, have someone sort of copy our ideas.
That's a good sign, isn't it? Very good sign. Yeah. Take form of flattery, right? Yeah. Sure.
But I think that, yeah, being able to have that and that open communication, but also we live that as a brand in terms of our brand values, is being able to have that kind of circular motion between different departments to keep moving, I think is so important for a challenger.
And just on almost like the more like tactics. So once you've created this obviously incredible viral creative, just in terms of then giving it an extra boost to get going and really get out there, was there anything that you did that really kind of gave it that sort of energy to go and, you know,
I DM'd Andrew Tyndall. That was about it. LinkedIn for and stuff. Thank you, mate. That was literally it.
And he did write about it.
He did
That
write.
was great.
It was very, very kind.
Yeah.
So it was a last ditch at the, like, mate, and you've ignored the last 3 messages. I'm back. And it happened. But no, literally organic. We tested the 60-second cut of the video on socials organically, and that hit 3 million views in 3 days. So that was just validation.
I remember the day we launched it, I was at the pub and I was just refreshing it like every 30 minutes. Oh God, it's getting bigger. And I think it was just such a nice moment. I mean, organically, the distribution was done for us. And again, as I said, like, you can't manufacture these sorts of things, but you can create the right environments for them. So thinking about when we were posting on TikTok, honing that content to be TikTok led. For us, when we look back on results, we saw that TikTok had 4 times the amount of growth than Instagram did. So honing maybe like the style of content to something that was more TikTok orientated, it worked massively in our favour for allowing that to grow so quickly on that platform. And, you know, small little things like that actually build up over time, that create the right conditions for virality, essentially.
Yeah, because I guess, you know, you guys have to think more creatively in terms of what you're putting out there. You have to kind of get that organic reach, because you maybe don't have the media spend that your, you know, competitors have that are kind of, you know, massive global brands. So tell us a little bit more about, I guess, you know, from a challenger mindset, like how the focus and that balance between organic and paid, and how you guys approach the way that you kind of cut through, or you know, the way that you focus on that growth, I guess.
You're right about the budgets. Obviously, we're a smaller outfit. We're in one city, right, and it's London. Our competitors are in 250, so it really gives you the context of where we are in this market. But you're right about the fact that we need to make our creative as hot as possible, which is why we've developing this in-house unit that's like full of creativity and laughter and fun, because that's what obviously extends your reach most, right, is creative, and other than spend. the other one is creative, right? And the quality of your creative. So we're kind of obsessed with that now, making sure it's like as good as possible. We do boost things, obviously, and we do paid ads. It's just on this occasion we didn't. We did a little bit of like short 6-10 second boosts of of short cuts, but we didn't really need to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in creative teams and how they keep close to the brand and like what you guys do to kind of keep that energy and make sure that you are tapped into the zeitgeist of what's relevant for the Forest Bikes. So how do you guys manage that internally, just in terms of your creative process?
I think Joe's done an incredible job with building a culture within our creative team that is incredibly open. No matter what level you are at, you are expected to challenge ideas and bring forward your ideas, and it's a very open and honest conversation. There was one point where I thought, boy, we shouldn't do £1 fish, it's cringe. I was like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm not convinced, like keep convincing me, like I want it to work.
Someone always needs to say, just to be like,
right? I know, like sense check this before we like run with it.
Yeah.
But I think that has allowed us to really hone the way that we work as a team and really actually focus our mindset on what is the aim of this campaign, or what is an aim of a campaign that we're doing, and how can we all really work together to ensure that KPI or that metric is met in a way that it feels very open and honest.
I'm guessing from a stakeholder level, they're quite open. Like, how did you pitch? Did you have to pitch the one concept of?
We showed the CMO. He didn't know about it. He's Chilean. Yeah. We showed him, and props to him. Like within like 10 seconds of showing him, he was like, "Okay, great. So how are we going to do this?" Like it was like immediately like, "Let's try this," which is an amazing position for us to do. So props to him.
It's so important, isn't it? Just within any creative team and within an organisation, that trust is there.
For sure. Yeah.
It's that you guys are thinking about it day in, day out, and just being able to have that freedom and trust to be able to like do what you do best. Does always lead to the best work, which is, I think, almost like the superpower of smaller, more agile teams, where you've got that connection with maybe stakeholders within the business that aren't as connected as you are, but that you can get this amazing work over the line, which is maybe what some of your bigger competitors can't do.
And also everyone in that room, Ellie very nicely said that we're building a team of what feels like a strong team of everyone feels like they have a voice. To that point, so the video of £1 fish was quite a lot of the style was inspired by what Willie Cook, who is a Instagram chef, comedian,
Bread place.
great guy. He was a big inspiration, and that was like one of our designers, Frankie, said, "Hey, this guy is he's kind of matching the style that you're going towards." So that was a reference from one of our designers. That feeds through to the final edit. Like anyone can literally just say like, our CRM manager is like obsessed with social. She'll throw something out. So it's like everybody's like got a little piece to like add.
But we were even showing finance, we were showing the commercial team, we were showing like everyone, because we wanted to ensure that universally it wasn't just funny to us, but it was to everyone. But that was just the benefit of like the kind of culture that we built at Forest, is that everyone gets stuck in.
It's quite a quick turnaround as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'd been ideating on how we do this £1 rides thing, but I think from securing £1 fish lands through to finished project, it was maybe 3-4 weeks, something like that. And he's not based in the UK, so that's he's based abroad. So
Ellie like literally like somehow put all that together at the end, and that story's mad. Just to make that whole story, which we did a video on.
We'll have to go through that all the time. But
I've got a question. So like, with the creative that you put out at the moment, it's very like even this what we're talking £1 bike. It's very satirical, right? It's very London, I would say, almost in its like angle and humour and how it's kind of approached. As the brand, I guess, inevitably scales, and you would want to move to like other cities, how are you going to kind of evolve your creative and your tone of voice to then, I guess, like adhere to maybe these new markets you will want to go in? Is that the goal, that you can go to different spaces, I guess?
I think eventually that is the goal. At the moment, we really want to solidify ourselves as the London homegrown shared e-bike. That's our tagline. sort of everyone loves an underdog story, right? So that's kind of been our thing, and we are in only one city. Someone said to me once, like, find one unifying factor that unites your entire audience, and it's the fact that you can't use a forest bike anywhere other than London. We all live in London, our entire team lives in London, all of the people that use forest bikes are from London. So we're really trying to solidify ourselves there. But I think what we've been able to benefit from is that we don't necessarily see ourselves as a mobility company. We see ourselves as something that's trying to push cultural movements or push cultural boundaries and doing things in a more sustainable and ethical way and pushing the ESG standard. And I think that's helped us tap into maybe a different mindset that perhaps our competitors haven't been able to do because they are so global and have started globally, whereas we started quite small and it has grown up quite quickly but sustainably, I think.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because those values, I think, come through in your communication, the way you guys turn up. So obviously the £1 ride was an amazing viral campaign, but you guys do a lot of other things that are more like in community and really like tapping into that kind of local Londoner mindset. Tell us maybe a little bit more about your favourite recent moments that kind of you feel have represented the brand and how you want to communicate the brand in that way.
I'll let you do. You introduce our favorites.
I think London Is Our Home was a really amazing, just like creatively, journey that we went on. It was my first project as creative producer at Forest. I was previously in marketing partnerships. I came back from holiday and Joe was like, right, well, we're doing this. I was like, okay. But it was a shoot where we highlighted at the time we had 18 boroughs, 18 of our real riders across 18 London boroughs, so completely street casted. I think we had like 500 applications. I was calling everyone, like screen testing them, seeing if they were, right to be on camera. And we whistled it down to these 18 amazing stories of real people, but we didn't want it to be about bikes. We wanted it to be about them. And we really felt like we got to know our audience. We got to know the people behind, like the customer, essentially. And that was just such a beautiful journey to go on, not just from a marketing point of view and pulling that into a campaign, but also just creatively from a creative project. It was nuts. So did 18 locations in 4 days.
4 days, very much in line.
As I've seen it, what tells a little bit more about the campaign itself? How did that?
So basically, it was called London Is Our Home, as Ali said. It was basically made social first. It was kind of 18 films of sorts, basically showcasing what home means to that person or what London means to that person. And basically, we recorded them telling us. So I can't really, I need to remember the names. But like there was examples of like Josie from Southwark, and Josie from Southwark would tell us about the fact that her most like memorable moment in London is cycling past Peck and Plex and waving at the same dude that's always outside. Like that's her feeling of what London is to her.
Yeah.
And then, as mentioned, the forest bike just kind of exists behind her. So it was like an intention where we didn't want the forest bike to be the main entity, like what Ellie said. So it was mainly that, and then it was also an out-of-home of sorts, but it was like an alternative out-of-home campaign. So instead of using traditional out-of-home sites, JCDecaux, etc., we actually funneled that money into local businesses. So basically in each borough, in the cafe of each, one cafe or shop of each borough, we put a big old window decal on that borough's cafe's window. I said that weirdly. So for example, what's an example of the next one?
Well, we did Mud Gang. That was the Costume Studio, and we did a window takeover there. Trampoline, Rampley. And that had, it's in Scandinavia. That had a great story behind it, and they used some of the funds that they make through the cafe to help train refugees. So really working with like community projects on those sorts of things, and instead of putting our money into big shiny billboards, putting them back into the local community. And as a result, we also gave away free stuff. We covered costs for giving away like free coffees and merch and zines. And
made a little zine. The zine was every single story in and around each of the coffee shops. We were presuming, and we've not properly done analysis, believe it or not, but that word of mouth must have been so much greater. The literal local word of mouth of, oh, what's that in the window? And the shop owner goes, oh, Forest. they're doing something in the windows. Here's your zine. Here's a free mutton roll. That's what they were giving up. Trampoline, for example.
It's really powerful. I mean, it's just almost like that, like the blueprint of like depth that you're actually going into. And yeah, obviously it's London right now, but that same feeling or that same tactic you could apply to any setting, right? You just go to that level because you care, which is what brands need to be doing now in order to actually like have that ability to even tap into word of mouth. Like you have to be doing stuff of value.
I think people can sniff out inauthenticity really quickly now.
Yeah.
Especially also like in an age of AI when things can be made really quickly. I think what we really, really try and do, and Joe could probably talk about us for hours about AI, but is like really try and make things feel authentic and organic, and that we've actually taken the time to think and build them,
Goes a long way.
rather than like just copying something.
Yeah.
And I think even then, like documenting, even that's the journey that you're going on as human beings, right? Of the craft of creating, and that's powerful because people want to feel like they can see what went into it rather than just, hey, I put something into ChatGPT. There's a really interesting bit around, like you talked about community before. How engaged are you with your community and people, your customers, and almost, you know, that 5% or that 1% of your super fans? Like, do you have like an open dialogue with them?
Yeah, I'd say mainly due to the fact that when we do campaigns, we lean on them, and I think we're very transparent and open about the fact that we only use them. So we only shoot our actual riders for campaigns, whether that's video or photography or whatever it is, apart from unpacking, obviously. But you know what I mean, that, and that's strong side of it. And what, sorry? And West Live. No, they might be riders, but they must have rented. But anyway, that's like, yeah, I think that's our main comms with them. And that means we can obviously get to know them in that manner. Yeah.
Well, I think we also really take feedback seriously, like from comments to DMs to emails, texts that I get from friends. Like, we always pass them on. I think we do genuinely consider them. But
Yeah, you got one yesterday.
I mean, I got one yesterday from my dad to me. They were at the pub. And I got a call, and it was like, I've got a suggestion. Thank you. Send it to me in writing.
Let's cycle home.
At the beads, don't go. But some of the best ideas come from our users, and I think what a unique position it is to be able to actually have that open communication with them. I think that was I still talk to some of the people that we did London as our home with, because I'm like, what feedback have you got for us? Because sometimes when you're in it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
So having people that are actually experiencing this and using it as a service day to day all the time,
Yeah.
it's important to have that open dialogue. But yeah, I encourage anyone to send us feedback.
It's gold dust.
It is.
It's like that level of insight and just that perspective that you guys as the strategists and creatives can then take and then put out into the world is like, that's the good stuff.
Yeah. I've not yet done it, but I've been meaning to do it, and it's basically to go undercover next to those riders. I've still not done it, but it's just it's having the guts to be like, hey, why are you on a forest? But it's hard to, you know what I mean?
You gotta do it. You gotta wear a different hat.
Bag. But the idea of that and kind of the beauty of that and the strength of that is, as mentioned, obviously we're only in London, but also we are cycling next to the customer, and the CEO cycling next to the customer, the CMO cycling next to the customer, and do you know, like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's there. And so far it's not, I don't think I've tapped into it enough, and that's a learning from me. I think I can tap into that more, but I think also that shows the power of us as the challenger in only London, that we're next to them, whereas actually the competitor, I don't think so much so the next to the customers, which is quite a unique position, I think.
I think also our customers are great. They back us. The amount of times I've been at events or I've been, chatting to random people, and they learn I work at Forest or, I'm part of Forest. They're like, oh my God, I love Forest. Like, goes with this and that. Like, I've been getting all of my friends on Forest. Like, that kind of community that we've managed to build organically where people do back us. So nice.
I think people get much more passionate about the indie, right? Like the independent company, And I think people that understand you as a brand and know that, you know, the kind of competitors that's maybe, you know, more of a global kind of corporation, people want to back that, don't they? They want to back something that feels independent, feels like it's from London. And I guess there's a wider movement that's happening from a community basis. There's so many more communities, and there's been a surgence of you know, people biking in general at the moment. Like, how do you guys feel you're kind of tapping into that? Like this kind of, because there's a shift in socializing, people are run clubs, chess clubs, whatever it might be, and within that I feel like you have a quite unique place of like people are using bikes more to get around the city and connecting with people. Like, how do you tap into that, those kind of London societal shifts that are kind of, do you kind of shape your strategy around that a little bit?
I actually think that's something that's untapped for us. Again, like, this is an open dialogue, I think, and in that respect, I think that is something that I don't think Ellie initially started tapping into those areas in your partnerships role. But I do think, in terms of Forest, I don't think that's been something we've explored enough yet.
I think something that's on my agenda for moving us forward is really building more of a community, not just with our riders, but with other businesses in London.
Yeah.
And almost working together to sort of uplift the best of London. So an example of that would be, you know, some of the tennis clubs that we've been chatting to, bringing in that wellness kind of thing, and, you know, just giving out some free code to be like, hey, this is a little gift from us as a London founded business to another London founded business. We just really want to work with you guys and actually really solidify ourselves in a London founded community. And I think that is where we start building those stepping blocks for
You're right.
solidifying ourselves here.
Because that's what the benefit of that conversation is. We are a London founded business, so when you approach those independent businesses in every community, you've got that commonality, and it's something that people don't realise about Forest, I think. And we were actually, you know, we were set up here, and we've been trying along for a while now to make sure that we really take root here. And I think that's a strength again, that we can go with that argument, you know, well, not argument, you know.
Go with that. I think the way that you tell those stories, you know, across your socials, across your kind of platforms, that comes across, that kind of locality and the care that you were talking about earlier really comes across. And I feel like to be a brand nowadays, that as you were saying, Ellie, like, people feel and can smell out like authenticity, and I really feel that comes through from your communication. So that, I'm guessing that's kind of, you know, a core part of it, is like how you kind of represent London and how you communicate that in a way from a brand lens. It's about, you are kind of London in a way, and that lens has to come through the communication. You guys see?
London is a forest.
London is a forest.
London is technically a forest. So London is forest.
This Forest. We wrote that once. But no, I think you're right. I think London is a forest is a lovely statement to kind of encompass that it is, and also the fact that we kind of put all our eggs in this basket, right? And it's paying off in that respect. So I'm kind of obsessed with that statement now. I want to get it on a couch. Yeah, let's figure that out.
And what's next? Like, you've obviously, you know, had a successful start to the year, and feels like there's a lot going on. Is there anything, you know, that the evolution of what you guys are focusing on and how you feel the brand, what like feels like the natural next step from a kind of brand perspective?
We've got our 5th birthday coming up, so that'll be fun in September. So we definitely want to do something around that, kind of celebrating, you know, how far we've come, and document that story as well on our end to show people that we've been the ones doing this. Not to boast, but, you know, we've obviously been, you know, in the trenches doing all this and figuring it out, and doing things wrong and doing things right, and, you know, all of that. So I kind of want to showcase that. That's a big one for us. Keep focusing on London. Like, we want to just link up with iconic London brands and, you know, those creators, and we really want to delve deeper into that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we will. I think if we keep going, we're going to land some great collaborations, etc.
Excited to see what comes.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's finish. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. That was a really, really fun chat. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.